and welcome to Harper Broadcast. I'm Amrita Tripathi, in conversation today with Sabeen Javeri, the author of Nobody Killed Her, a fabulous, very pacey thriller. So first of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you, Amrita. I'm so glad you liked it.
Yes, I did. I was telling Sabeen I was up all night reading it. I can't give away the ending, but brace yourselves once you start this book. So, the catchline I saw in a couple of these interviews was that it's about the love of power versus power of love. Mm-hmm. And you have these two very strong women as protagonists in this backdrop of sort of patriarchy and a feudal and very classist system, navigating their own sort of journeys, but also their own ambitions and dreams. Will you take us through a little bit of what went into the making of Rani Madam and Nazo?
Yeah, I was just really sick of the suitable girl of South Asia, and especially when it comes to Muslim women. There are these stereotypes attached to them that either they're going to be very submissive or they're going to be terrorists. So I just wanted to break that mold, and I wanted to create a really badass, anti-heroine who wasn't afraid to admit that she's ambitious. At the same time, I also wanted to show this other side of female leadership, where there's a woman who comes from a privileged background, has access to a career, but perhaps doesn't want it. Do we allow such a woman that allowance not to take something that's up for grabs? So I just wanted to experiment with both those angles of being a modern woman.
They both have very strong ideals. When you start out, you're not really sure who you're rooting for, because that's the sort of way the book progresses, right? It's set in a courtroom and then through flashbacks. But it's almost like the sort of shifting sands of morality that, it does put a mirror up to, the reader as well. Because I did want to ask you the difference between what we think we profess as our ideals, or what we profess to be the ideals we live by, and what we actually do given half a chance. It's quite extraordinary how this comes to play in this book.
Well, I'm really glad that it does, because that was the intention. I'm quite interested in that whole difference between history versus memory. How something occurs on the page and how that reality is interpreted in people's personal memories.
Yeah.
How we actually feel about certain events. The partition, for instance, history textbook will tell you something else. You talk to your parents, they'll tell you something else. Their memories of partition may not be as bloody and traumatic as the ones that you get to read in textbooks. So taking that concept in mind, I structured it in such a way that there was the court scenes, and then there was the interpretation of those court scenes by the narrator. Okay. Unpredictability appealed to me greatly, because I'm very interested in that psychological thriller element of reading, of books, of writing. The books that appeal to me the most are the ones where I don't know what's going to happen, not necessarily in terms of suspense or a thriller, but in the sense that the person, the character, is a puzzle. The more you get to know them, the more intriguing it becomes, and that's something I wanted to explore.
The other thing is that sort of the reality check in this book is one at the personal level, when you're reading and you sort of relate to or not, with some of what these characters are going through. But when you talk about education of girls and, that backdrop is so real, especially for this part of the world. Is it the cause that you care about, or is it something that you see, we see it in the news a lot, sort of violence against women who want to empower themselves, even girls being denied education?
What really disturbs me, and something that I wanted to draw attention to, is why when women try to challenge the norm, when they try to challenge patriarchy, they are stopped so violently. Whether it's Malala raising a voice for something that's a basic right of every human being. Girls going to school, attaining an education, shot in the head. Whether it's Mai Mukhtar in Pakistan, standing up for justice, silenced so violently, okay? Whether it's Kandil Baloch just asserting her right to be who she is on social media, killed by her own brother. So that's something I wanted to reflect, that why is it that every time women try to change, or they just bring up something, or they challenge patriarchy, they stop very violently. And that's quite sad.
Were you surprised that the sort of reactions you're getting in the sort of Indian readership space and critics and so on?
I am. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm blown away. I think it's fabulous. It's great that young people, both in India and in Pakistan and even in UK, quite a few have written to me. They're enjoying the book. In Karachi, at the university where I teach, I'm getting readers who are from very conservative backgrounds, wear the hijab, actually coming to the university to get the book signed because they can relate to it. They love Nazo.
So I do want to leave us all with the thought that went behind the red of these pages. Do you want to take us through what that was?
Well, the first print run that they did was actually quite normal. So it was launched at the KLF, and I think they did a pretty small print run, and it just sold out, completely sold out. And then they did the proper print, and I think they thought maybe we can now add a splash of red. But actually the reason why I wanted it to be colorful was because I think every time we talk about Muslim women, it's very dull. You pick up any book which has a woman with a hijab on it, it's going to be really grey, it's going to be very dull, lack of color. And one thing I was conscious about, I was like, you have to celebrate. I want them to come across as heroes, not victims.